I'm Richard Randall, and welcome back to the Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or to sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, things are changing fast in this real estate market. What are some reasons why a seller may cancel their listing agreement with their current agent? It's not a great situation, but it is happening. Tell us about it.
Well, Richard, I mean, it does happen sometimes. And I think a lot of people got caught off guard with what's just gone on in the last few months. I don't think I've ever seen in my many years in the business, the market shift that quickly. And it all happened by government. The only other example I could think of was back in 2000, I think it was 14. Remember when President Obama decided to boost the real estate market? He was going to give them $8,000 or $10,000. Do you remember that?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah. And it did work. It really did. And then it ended in June, and then the market kind of went back to being slow again. So the government definitely can have an impact. Government pressure can have an impact on market factors. And that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, we had these artificially low mortgage interest rates for years and years. We've had low rates really since, I would say, 2019. I've talked to somebody recently that had mortgage rates in the twos, which is spectacular. But if you look over time, over the long term, the average interest rate was probably hovering around a little over 7%. I remember when I first got in the business, I think, when we first moved to Colorado, I think my mortgage at that time, the rates were 8.5% on an adjustable mortgage, and we were happy to get that. And then a year or two later, the rates went down to 7%, and everybody's doing the happy dance. So we're not even at 7% yet, right? And yet people are kind of freaking out, like the sky is falling and all that. But I don't think that's the case. However, here are the facts. Since April, which basically was a pricing peak in the market that we saw for the year, the average price has dropped since April, $38,790. So back in April, the average price was $561,900. Right now, stats came out today, it's $523 and some change. The average days on market went from 17 days a month ago to 25 days recently. And that is only for the ones that are selling. That's the key. I think people, when they put their house on the market, they assume every home is going to sell, but not necessarily. If you're overpriced, if you have condition issues, if you have an odd floor plan, people are going to make other choices because there's more homes to compete with in the market right now. Just in the past week, 25% of home sellers have dropped their price. That's a lot. There's about 2690 was the stats that came out today, 2,690 available homes on the market right now. Now, if you look at that big picture wise and you go back over time, that's still a lower inventory number that we have seen when we had more of a complete buyer's market. So it's not the sky is falling, it's just a big shift. And if the big shift caught you off guard and you're expecting a price up here and you didn't get it, and whoever you hired really didn't understand what was going in the market or didn't prepare you for it and didn't price it right, you may get frustrated and may want to make a change. Regardless of the market conditions, okay, there are three key factors that result in success when selling your highest asset: preparation, pricing, and promotion. So preparation you control, but one of the things that we do with our clients is we help guide them to make sure that they know what to do and what not to do to get their house ready for sale. I was in a home just a few weeks ago, beautiful home on acreage, and they really weren't all in with remodeling this home. It hasn't been updated, at least kitchens and baths, for some time. But if they decided instead to position the home to price it appropriately versus, asking for the moon, which I thought was a really, really good strategy. So we talked about what are the things that you need to do to prepare. And it wasn't a lot. They didn't have to spend a lot of money, but we went through a checklist of some of the things that need to be done to make sure they get top dollar. Like, I don't know if you remember, Richard, back in the late 80s, early 90s through the 90s. Remember when mauve and green were in style? Remember those colors?
Yeah, there was a period of time where that was quite the deal.
It was a thing, just like
Yeah.
back in the 70s, it was the olive green.
Yep.
And in the 90s, it was the mauve and green. Then there was a period in the 90s when blue, a medium blue, were in style, which blue is kind of coming back. But the mauve and green has not come back, thankfully. But they still had mauve and green carpet. So I suggested, okay, of the things that you're going to do, I definitely would neutralize the carpet, because the buyers can deal with where they're going to go if they're going to do a full-on kitchen remodel, or if they're going to change the counters or the cabinets or something like that. That's a much bigger project where carpet probably is going to run you for that size home maybe $5,000 to $7,000. So pricing you control, but most people do rely on the advice of a competent real estate agent about pricing. And then the last thing is promotion, which the agent controls. And marketing isn't just taking some happy snaps with your cell phone and sticking a house in the MLS. We know that buyers eliminate homes based on online pictures. Years ago, when I started in the business, kind of before the pictures and the imagery got so high quality that buyers could get a really good idea what the home was like back then. They couldn't do it back then, and now they can. We're seeing a lot of buyers make a decision about purchasing a home based on the online pictures and video. I just had a buyer in one of my under contract listings yesterday that had not physically seen the house. It was a higher end property, but based on the pictures and videos, he was able to make a decision. We could not do that even 15 years ago. The imagery wasn't good enough, right? So the marketing is controlled by the agent, and where the home is marketed is also a very important thing. So if you're a home seller and you have to make a change on the agent, I'm not blaming agents. I think a lot of them are really great and they know what they're doing. And it's not that. Sometimes I think a lot of us kind of got caught off guard in what was happening in this very rapid shift. And the obvious reaction is blame the agent, But there are some times when maybe that relationship isn't going well. The number one reason is poor communication. And that's why who you choose when you hire an agent really makes a difference. So if the agent is not getting results, it could be the market, which we're seeing a lot of that right now. It could be a lack of knowledge about the market. It could be poor promotion. It could be poor communication, or it could be just having the home not priced appropriately, which the seller controls. And I've talked to quite a few sellers that said, we just took the price that we were told we could get. So if they said, hey, you can get that much money, of course they want most sellers want the most money when they sell their home. They're relying on the professional to know that. But it's a really awkward conversation overall. But probably the biggest reason people make a change are because the home is not selling. They have pricing mistakes, marketing mistakes, staging, or communication problems. Example of agents not communicating. I had a seller not too long ago that hired me after they fired their previous agent because he goes, all of a sudden, nobody was showing my house anymore. And it was very awkward for me to have to tell him that, well, that's because your home has not been on the market for 30 days. It was very awkward conversation for me to have.
Oh,
because
my goodness.
He didn't know.
Oh,
he had no idea that it had expired, dropped off the internet. The agent never told him. And he's like, well, this is a real good friend of mine. How come the house is not being shown? And so, I mean, A lot of real estate agents are very kind of outgoing and out there. Attention to detail is a difficult thing for that personality type. So you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions, right? The next one, I had another one where they had their house on the market. It was up in Cascade area, and the summertime for Teller County is usually prime time for selling. They sell year round, but everything looks so beautiful up in that county, even going up the pass in the summer. And this home had been sitting on the market with just like one showing a month for 6 months. And again, the seller took the advice of the agent about where to price the home. And they tried to meet with the agent, and the agent just ignored them and actually no-showed them on the appointment. So they finally made a change and we got it sold. So we absolutely value every client that we get. We want to be their trusted real estate advisor for life. That's the most important thing to us. So we actually offer 6 satisfaction guarantees, and you can fire us anytime. You could, if our goal is to actually help more families buy and sell homes. And we don't want to be just about the sale. We want to make a difference in their life and help them get top dollar for their home. So our satisfaction guarantees include, we want to earn your business, right? We want a communication guarantee at least every week. Honest promises. We're going to be honest with our statistics and our track record. Reality-based selling price is one of our guarantees. Also reality-based timeline. And you know, if a home seller decides they want to make a change, a seller can initiate a discussion with another agent, and that's not against the rules. They can do that, but that new agent cannot provide any services to them until they've canceled their agreement with their current agent. There are clauses in the state contracts that allow cancellations. And basically there have to be reasons for it. One of them would be the agent failed to perform what they promised. The other is they breach what they call fiduciary or advocate duty. But it's weird because the state forms don't say anything about what they're really going to do to perform. But a advocate position is a different story. Let me tell you a story. I recently talked to a seller that wanted to let their agent go. And they just weren't happy. And the agent actually threatened to sue them. Can you imagine, Richard?
That is not the situation they thought they were going to be in when they agreed to do business with each other.
No, and there was nothing in the contract about that either. But, you know, it just, some people just don't really know the contracts and know the rules. And then there's another situation that people worry about, which is whether or not they're going to owe a commission to the first agent if the home sells later. So that's a good question. There is what's called a holdover clause built into the contract, but it only applies with whether or not an offer was submitted during that listing period and whether or not there was an uninterrupted process to sell. And the reason for that would be like, let's say somebody brought an offer, then they backed off, then they fired their agent, and that same buyer came back, they could potentially owe a commission, but it has to be written in the contract. If it's not in your agreement, then it doesn't apply. So I've heard of agents, you know, threatening their clients in different ways using the holdover clause as well. And you don't want that. I mean, we want 5-star reviews. If you decide you want to make a change with us, we're going to go away politely, no harm, no foul. We wish you all the best because at the end of the day, we'd like to serve you for life. We want clients for life. We hope you'll refer us to your friends so we could serve more families. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker. This is the Real Estate Voice. Barb has a whole team of people to help you sell your home. And if you'd like to receive your free report on how to sell your home fast and for top dollar, visit barbhasthebuyers.com or just call 719-301-3900. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing why to give back to veterans. And that's what Barb does. Plus, we'll talk about her hot new listings.